They're fun, aren't they? Yeah. So sit however's comfortable. We're here. It is Thursday, the 28th of January, and gentle today. So, you know, you can make gentle class as gentle or as hard as you want, obviously. So, you know, modify as you need. And if you're sitting on the floor, be comfortable in the way you have your legs, whether you want to stretch them out or sit cross-legged, sit up on blankets if you choose. Same thing at home. And then just close your eyes and let yourself, if you can, turn your palms up so you rest the backs of your hands somewhere. It depends on how you're sitting, where you want to rest them, right? And then lengthen up through the top of your head. Let yourself feel that sense of space in your spine. And then just allow yourself to be with your breath in and out through your nose. And on your next exhale, let your thumb and your pointer finger just touch, like the tips of them touch, like you're making a little circle. And then just breathe. A couple of breaths, real easily. You know, if you need to adjust your hands to a different position in order to do these connections of the fingers and thumbs, then do. And then go ahead and let that open, and we're going to go to the middle fingers and the thumbs, just gently touching there at the tips. Again, adjusting your hands if you need so it doesn't feel stressful at all, and just breathe. Like you've made a connection there. And then let that come apart, and we'll go to the ring fingers and the thumbs. Releasing there, and now the pinkies and the thumbs. So this one in particular, if you need to kind of switch around a little bit in order to make that easy do. And then let yourself release. And on your next exhale, allow your hands just to come to meet right there in front of your chest, in front of your heart. And on your next exhale, lower your chin down towards your chest. Doesn't matter how far you go. Tilt your head forward as much as you want to feel release there through your neck. And then start to allow your left ear to come towards your left shoulder and slide your hands over to the right a little bit, just to come into the right side of your neck stretch here. And then roll the chin back down to center, hands back to center, and we'll go the other way. Right ear towards the right shoulder, hands move a little to the left. And then we'll come on back into center and allow the head to rise on back up. Release your arms on out beside you. Let's inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down through the midline to rest in front of our chests. And then we'll reverse and inhale the hands right up through the midline. And on the exhale, open the arms on back out and down. And now from here, let your right arm float up, and then bring your arm across your chest. Hook your right hand over the top of your left shoulder if you can. Let your elbow melt down there. And then just start to turn to look to your right. So you're just releasing to look chin parallel to the floor, right? You're just looking to the right, over your right shoulder. And then just lower your chin down a little bit there, but feel a little pressure into that left hand, just a little bit. And the right hand, into the shoulder. And then rise on back up just a little bit now, more parallel to the floor with your chin. And come on back into center. Release that arm on down, bring your left arm on up. And then again, bring it across your chest. See if you can kind of find a good place to hook over there at the top. So you feel the weight of that left hand on your right shoulder. And then just turn to look to your left. Let yourself just easily keep your chin about parallel to the floor. And then as you lower your chin down a little bit, just kind of press down with your left hand. You might even kind of use your fingers to massage a little bit if you feel real tense right there. Just release, breathe. And then come on back with the chin more parallel to the floor, and we're going to come back to center with our focus and release our arms on out beside us. And let's bring our hands behind us. Now, if you're on the floor, you can just put your fingertips back there, or you can lean back onto your hands. Chair is great because you're supported right there underneath your shoulder blades. You can release there. Open up through the front body a little bit. Good, and then come on back upright. And stretch your legs out for a second, whether you're on the floor or in your chair. Move through your feet and your ankles a little bit. And now if you are on the floor, you're going to keep your right leg long, and you're going to cross your left foot over to the outside. So in the chair, we're going to cross thigh over thigh, right? So let your left thigh be on top, right? So if you're on the floor, if you can get this foot all the way down to the floor, whether it's below or above your knee do. If that's too much, don't do that. Leave it like this, right? You got to be where you can be. Because we're going to twist from here. So as you do, get ready to come into the twist. Take a nice inhale into your spine. And as you exhale, twist to your left with your left hand coming behind you. And your right hand coming to your knee if you want, depending on how you're sitting, of course, right? Lengthen up. Wake up the spine here. Good. One more breath. And on your exhale, come on back into center. Now, if you're on the floor, come a little tiny bit forward. It's like you're kind of holding on to your knee or your shin, drawing yourself forward. And same thing in your chair. So you're letting yourself just release a little deeper in, back, coming forward into your hip there. And then we'll rise on back up. And we're going to switch legs. So again, depending on you, that left leg long if you're on the floor, put the foot over if you can to the floor somewhere. Let yourself lengthen up here into your spine, inhaling. And on the exhale, we'll twist. Right hand comes behind us. Your left hand can, again, come to your knee or across, depending on how you're sitting, where your knee is, right? And just enjoy. Now find your low belly here. Think about going as low as you can in your belly and gently drawing in. And then on your next exhale, come back around into center. Remember, we're going to come forward just a little bit. Depends on you. You know, come forward from your low back. Allow yourself to release where you can be. You use your hands to kind of help draw you forward a little bit. Good. And then we'll come on back up to the top again. And let's uncross our legs. Let's stretch our legs back out again. And now from here, release your hands out beside you. So if you're on the floor, turn your palms down and press down towards the floor, coming into staff pose here. It's like you're the shape of a capital letter L. So if you're on your chair and it's way too much to make your legs straight, just see if you can lift your feet up a little bit. Keep your knees bent, right? You're engaging your legs. Feel your heels, if you're on the floor, drawing back towards you a little bit. Nice. And then we'll come on, release on around. We're going to shake out a little bit before we come onto our hands and knees. So you know, if you would rather be on your knees but not be on the hard floor, put a blanket underneath your knees. And if you feel like you don't want to be down at all, put your hands up on the seat of a chair. Or you can even use your blocks to do your cat-cow, right? And if your wrists bother you, come on to fists so that you don't feel any undue pressure in your hands there. And then just start to ease your way through your cat-cow. So letting yourself just enjoy. Feel your tailbone initiate, right? So when you exhale and draw your tailbone up under you, and then you round up into your back, and getting there between the shoulder blades too. But then when you inhale, the tailbone is what you reach back and up first. And then just think about your belly sinking in your ribs and your heart. You can stay looking down or look forward. So let it feel good. And The reason I say your hands can be any height, it actually sometimes can change the feeling of moving to your cat-cows to do that. So, you know, even if you're usually on your hands and knees, but you think, it's kind of good to do something a little bit different, you can change how high you are up with your hands. You can even be on your forearms, actually, to do this, so that you're totally out of your hands, right? So just enjoy, finish that one you're on, enjoy feeling that spine, just waking up there, and then we'll come on back to a neutral spine. And from here, we're going to step our left foot forward and our right foot back to find a plunge. So you can put your hands on any height you want here, too. You know that. Hands can be on blocks, highest, lowest, middle. You can be up on the seat of your chair. You can even be up on the back of a chair if you need to be even higher. And then take your time with getting your alignment here so that you feel like you're on very narrow railroad tracks. And let yourself draw your shoulders down away from your ears, zip up your low belly so you feel your whole body here in your lunge. And we're going to switch legs. So whether you like to step forward or backward, that's up to you. Coming to that other side, again, like you're on very narrow railroad tracks. Doesn't matter how long your stance is. Just matters whether you get this front knee bent too far forward. So don't let the front knee go out beyond your ankle there. And feel the legs now, and the hips, the length of the spine. Nice. We're going to switch again. Now, if any of you feel like you want to lift up a little bit out of your hands, you can either just lift up like to your fingertips, or you can put your left hand there up on your thigh if you want, or even bring both hands up if you choose to. That's totally up to you. And then we're going to switch again. So again, once you get into your stance, you feel really solid. If it feels good to take a little weight out of your hands by coming to fingertips or bringing a hand or both hands up, you can. Just be mindful. Good. And then we're going to bring our hands down so we can step forward and come into standing forward bend. Feet hips distance apart and parallel. Let yourself walk a little bit. Bend one knee at a time, and don't shift too harshly, right? Just a little bit of easing from one long leg to the other. And then come back to center. Let both knees bend a little bit. Press gently down into your feet. Think of those arches lifting up. If lifting your toes up helps you to get very aligned feeling in your feet, you can lift all your toes up. And then once the toes come on back down, you find your way into your forward bend where you're comfortable to be. Use support if you need. Hands or forearms on chair or blocks. Arms releasing downward, whatever feels good. And let your jaw go. Feel your face softening. And then we'll bring our hands up to our hips. We're going to bend our knees and rise up to standing. And inhale our arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. And let's unfold our arms down beside us here now. Float your arms a little away from you and turn your palms forward. So when you turn your palms forward, it's nearly impossible to round the shoulders forward, right? So just by rotating the palms forward, imagine you're standing between two panes of glass, one in front of you and one behind you. It's like you're kind of really equaled out there. You don't want to feel smushed exactly, but you do want to feel like, if you were supported like that in the front and the back of you, you'd feel so balanced. Easy to stand here in your mountain pose. And now as you inhale, let the arms float up a little higher towards a wide V. Now if you need to keep really wide, do, or if you need to bring your arms forward, do. So that you feel okay in your shoulders. Turn the pinkies a little bit in towards the midline of the body so you really feel the shoulders release down away from the ears. Good. And then as you exhale, just bend your elbows and let your hands come right to meet in front of your chest, in front of your heart. Spread your fingers out. Feel that connection there through your hands. And if you were to draw a line down the midline of the body, just imagine that you're entirely symmetrical right to left, which of course none of us are, but picture that sense of being that balanced. And then we'll unfold our arms again. Down beside us, we're going to inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And on the exhale, bend our knees and come on forward into standing forward bend. Let your next inhale help you find a nice long back. Lengthen back through your tailbone and out through the top of your head. And then we'll step the right foot back to come into lunge here, coming into our first sun salutation. Draw your shoulders down, engage your belly a little bit now. Press the feet gently away from each other. Inhale. Exhale into your downward facing dog pose. So reaching into your dog where you like your hands to be. Remember, whether it's the blocks or the chair or the floor, it really changes the feeling in your shoulders. So, experiment a little bit if you need to with where your hands are. Let yourself reach back through your sitting bones so you feel very equal in the sides of the body, long in the spine. And on the next inhale, come on out towards your plank. Now, you can come to forearms. If you need to get out of those hands, do. Or put your knees down. If it's too much to do a full plank, do a half plank with the knees down. And enjoy reaching your sitting bones down towards your heels or your back of your knees if you're on your knees. One more breath. And then we'll come on back again into down dog. And we will bring our right foot forward to come into lunge. So if you're on the floor and you need to put your left knee down to get there, do. Press your feet away from each other now. Draw your shoulders down. Again, come into your whole body in your lunge. And then we'll step forward again, coming back into standing forward bend. So check your feet out, hips distance apart and parallel. Use whatever you need for support. And then go right to just being with your own breath. Letting your breath come in and go out through your nose. Feeling the expansion of the ribs as you inhale. Good. And then we'll bend our knees and bring our hands on up to our hips, rising on up to standing, and inhaling our arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, letting our hands come down together in front of our hearts. Now from here, bring your left hand in front of you and hold on to your left wrist with your right hand. And then just start to rise your arms up. Now, be easy. If your shoulder bothers you, don't do this. Don't go very far. If you can pull up a little bit with your right hand so you're feeling like you're making your left arm a little bit longer, do. And then just ease your way to the right a little bit to come into a side stretch. So just keep that just gentle. And if you're out here, that's fine. If you know that you can't come straight or with the arm, don't do it. Or if you can't come up overhead. And then come on back up to the top. Bend your elbows a little bit and bring your left hand to encircle your right wrist. And then again, you've got to experiment. You're using your left hand to kind of draw that arm up. You can use your left hand to pull up a little bit before you move over to the left with your body. Coming into that gentle release through the right ribs. Good, and then we're going to come on back to the top. Bring your hands on right down to meet in front of your chest. Lower your chin down towards your chest. Let yourself release. And then as you inhale, bring your head on back forward. Take a breath here in mountain pose. And then we'll unfold our arms. We're going to inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And on the exhale, bend our knees and come on forward into our standing forward bend. And on your next inhale, flat back, whatever helps you. Bend the knees if you need. Put your hands for support wherever you need. And then we'll step left foot back and come into lunge. So Again, really finding your lunge here. And then to come into down dog again, wherever you like your hands to be. So if your hands are on the chair, your chances are your heels are definitely on the floor, but you have this length of the spine. You can bend your knees if you need, in any dog. And if your hands are lower on the blocks, you might be closer to an upside down V like you would be if your hands were on the floor. And then on the next inhale, come on out towards a plank. And take your time here. If you like to bend your elbows a little bit, and it just takes a tiny little bend of the elbows to really work here in the biceps and the shoulders. So if you like doing that, you can. If not, you can stay in your plank. Think about the strength of the belly and the low back here so you're not dropping into your belly. Good, and then we'll come on back into down dog again. And we will bring our left foot forward this time to find lunge. However you need to get it there. And then we'll come on back into standing forward bend again. And let it be this feeling of a resting pose if you can, right? Let everything relax that you can. Your face, all around your eyes, your mouth, all across your forehead. And just letting the weight of the torso coming forward help the backs of the legs to open up a little more. And the weight of your head to create more space in your spine. And then we'll bend our knees and bring our hands to our hips. We're going to rise on up and inhale our arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, bring our hands down together in front of our hearts. Let's sit back into a little chair pose. So let yourself just sit back, hands to your heart. Take your time. Let it feel really easy to bring your gaze maybe 4 or 5 feet in front of you on the floor there. Feel your thighs engaging. Feel the strength. And imagine you're kind of pressing down into the floor equally with both your feet. One more breath. And then bring your hands to your thighs. Lean forward with a nice long flat back here. Your knees still bent, right? But you're finding like this tabletop flat back here. Just enjoy coming into that nice length of your spine. And then on your next exhale, go ahead and bring your hands down where you like because we're going to step into down dog from here. So whatever surface you like to use for your dog, take your time. Walk your way back. Walk your dog a little bit if you want. Bend a knee at a time. Think about the back of your head being in line with your spine. And on the next inhale, we'll come on out to that plank. Now, once you're in plank, you can decide, do you want to do a back bend of any kind? Not necessary. If you feel you want to come down to the floor and come onto your forearms, you can do a sphinx, you can do a little cobra, you can do an up dog. And then we'll make our way back into downward facing dog pose. Take your time. Remember, not necessary to do back bends here. As you come out towards that plank, you can put your knees down and do your half plank or do your forearm plank. You can move into a back bend if you choose, whether it's sphinx or cobra or up dog. And then we'll make our way back again into downward facing dog pose. Good. Let's bring our left foot forward this time to come into lunge. And then we'll come all the way back forward into standing forward bend. So again, just find that ease. Whatever support you need, so it does feel like it's easy, right? So you don't feel any kind of stress in your back, your low back. Watching your breaths all the way in and all the way out. And then we'll let our hands come on back up to our hips and bend our knees to rise up. And inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, bring our hands down together in front of our hearts. Let's bring our left arm on top of our right. Give yourself a hug. Let your elbows melt down a little bit. And then just easily let your head tilt a little bit one side and then the other, but at your own timing. So if you find when you have your arms crossed like this, that you're tight up there between your shoulder blades, or you have a spot, sometimes, it's that almost feels like a knife sharpness, right? Maybe just stay there and move your head a little bit to change how it feels. Sometimes that's releasing. Let yourself just allow that sense of just you taking care of where you have some discomfort, right? And then coming back up to center, we're going to switch the arm on top. So go ahead and switch. Again, you hug lower or higher, that's up to you. And then again, let your head move around a little bit. And kind of amazing how different it feels when one arm's on top, right? I mean, maybe the sense of tightness changes a little bit. You may need to move your head a different way, bring it forward more, bring it tilted more. We're all different. One more breath. And then come on back up with your head. Let your arms release on down beside you. Let your arms swing a little bit forward and back. And then see if you can let them be once bent and once straight when they go back, right? So first, one way and then the other. So you're just swinging the arms. It's real easy. You can even let your knees start to do a little movement if that feels okay, right? If it doesn't feel so good to bend your knees, it's not exactly a bounce, but it's a little bit of a movement through the knees. Not real deep, but. And then finish off. Let your arms release a little bit, shake out, and we're going to come towards warriors. Now, if you need a chair, let yourself turn your chair, back of your chair towards you. And let's get our blocks and have them handy at the front of our mats here. And we're going to step into right foot back for warrior 2. So lining up our heels here in warrior 2 and lining up that front knee. So actually see if you can look down at your left knee. Straighten it for a second. So you kind of got into your stance. Now when you're straight, see if you can bend it and really watch it. So make sure it's not tending to go out beyond your toes, right? And if it is, let your toes inch forward a little bit so you get a bit of a longer stance. Good. We're going to rise our arms on up and out from here, right into your warrior 2 arms. Like, let the hands just release all the way out through your fingertips. Feel that ease of the arms growing out of your back. Good. And now, straighten that left knee again. So here we are, both legs straight. Let your left hand come down for triangle, maybe to the back of your chair or down your leg, or maybe you want to grab a block, put your hand down on a block. Let that right arm, if it can stay up, be right up from your shoulder. Feel the thighs engaging up towards the hips. Good. Now look down at the floor at your left foot, bend your left knee again, and come on back into your warrior 2. And turn your left palm up. And inhale, reach up towards the sky with your left hand. And on your exhale, come into your side angle this time. So left knee stays bent. Left hand can be on your thigh. You decide if you want to come to your forearm on your thigh, letting that right arm come up into line with the right side of the body if possible, or keeping the hand down on your hip. Good. We're going to come back to warrior 2 again from here. Feel those feet equal in the floor. Now we're going to bring our arms down and we're going to find lunge from here. So you may want to use your blocks, you may want to use your chair, turning yourself now into your full lunge where that right heel is reaching directly behind your foot. And then we'll bring our left hand to our left hip and we're going to roll that left shoulder up and come into twist here. Hand on the low back if you want, or stretch that left arm up if you choose. Depends on your shoulder, right? Just be mindful. Sometimes if you're really careful, don't drop too much into your right side. Sometimes it feels good to look up a little bit towards the ceiling, whether your arm's up there or not. And then bring your hand on back down, and we're going to step forward and get our feet right underneath it. Equal between your feet, let your knees soften, and then press into your feet and rise on up. And we'll inhale our arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. Find your mountain pose for a breath here. Enjoy feeling like you're supported by the air all around you, really. Now that you've got a little more energy flowing through the body. And then we'll release our arms again on down. Shake out a little bit before we get set up for the other side. So it's going to be the left foot that steps back. Again, have your blocks handy if you moved them at all. And let yourself step that left foot back. Line up your heels. Bend that right knee. See that it's aligned here at first. Really feel good about the length of your stance. And then straighten that right knee out. So now, here you are. Thighs are lifting up a little bit. And now look down at your right knee as you start to bend it. You might even kind of slide your right hand down your inner thigh. It helps the knee line up at the center of the foot. And again, if you feel like the knee's going too far forward beyond your toes, let your stance lengthen a little bit. And then when you're ready, rising those arms straight on out from your shoulders. You know if your shoulders bother you, keep your hands down. You can either turn to look out to the right over your hand, or if the hand's down, you can still turn and look out over the right? Just easily let yourself feel that strength and power of your warrior two. And we're going to straighten that right leg out again and bring the right hand down. Now for triangle, it's not about how far you go. It's about finding that length through the underside of the body. Left hand, if it can stay up there above your shoulder, let it stay up there. Feel the thighs engaging up towards the hips. So you're very much using your legs here. And imagine you're trying to make your mat longer as you lift up your thighs. Then we're going to bend that right knee. We're going to come on back into warrior two. Press the feet away from each other here. Now turn your right palm up and inhale and reach up towards the sky. Full breath into the right ribs. And on the exhale, we'll come into that side angle. So again, the right knee stays bent. Whether you put your right hand on your thigh or you go lower, it's up to you. Totally optional to add this left arm up. It is fine to keep the hand right down on your hip. Think about the length of your spine here. Good. We're going to come on back into warrior two now, pressing those feet away from each other. Now let your hands come on down. We're making our way to lunge, remember. So bringing your hands down to the surface you like to use. Maybe it's the chair, maybe it's the blocks or the floor, right? Let that left heel reach directly behind your foot. And then bringing your right hand to your right hip. Rolling that shoulder up, trying to stay fairly level in your hips. Your hand can kind of check it for you. Again, if it feels good to turn to look up a little bit, that adds an extra little twist in this, right? It's not necessary to do that either. So you can have your arm up. Maybe you want to think about looking up towards the ceiling with your arm up, or maybe with it down, or maybe not at all. Maybe just looking to the side. And then we'll bring our hand on back down. We're going to step forward and come on into our standing forward bend again. Now, those of you who like to hold your elbows, because it feels good, it's not too much pressure in your back, you can go ahead and let your hands just softly come to your elbows. Otherwise, just be with your breaths. And then letting your hands come back up to your hips. Bend your knees, press into your feet equally. We'll come on up to standing and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. So bring in your gaze, whether your eyes are open or closed, on forward and out. So you're looking at the horizon. Feel yourself stacked up really. Hips over ankles, shoulders over hips. Thinking about that ease at the back of your neck and throat, right? So you don't want to send your chin forward, but you don't want to tuck your chin back, right? There's that happy place for your head where it feels easy, like it's just floating up there. And then we'll release our arms on down. Shake out again a little bit. And we're going to come into warrior one this time. So bringing yourself with your right foot back. As you step towards the front of your mat and then step that right foot back, you know, how long of a stance you take here, same thing. You just want to be mindful of that front knee. Your feet can be, 1.5 feet apart or 3 or 4 feet apart. Bring your shoulders on around square to the front of your mat. Let this back foot be comfortable. And then let your arms come on out beside you. Turn your palms forward, but let the hands come forward a little bit, right? So instead of being right down beside you, bring your arms just a little bit forward, right? Feel very easy here now as you rise the arms up higher and higher. And you can let yourself, if you want, keep the arms forward from the shoulders. So if your shoulders have issues with bringing the hands right overhead, then just try having this sense of the arms being just forward of you, right? So come where you can. Feel that inhale up the front of the body. Exhale down the back of your body. Feel very equal between your feet all the way up through your legs and your hips. One more breath. And then we'll lower our arms on down beside us. We're going to turn to face the long edge of our mat, get our feet more parallel, at least a little bit wider than our shoulders. And then come on forward. And you know, you can grab your blocks if you need them. Bring your hands down. Keep your hands out in front of you though, whether you're on blocks or the floor. Bend one knee at a time a little bit. Let yourself just easily allow the inner thighs to release. And then come on back into center. And let yourself feel like you're pressing your feet away from each other, like you're trying to lengthen your mat. But your inner thighs are kind of melting their way behind you. Now you can have your knees bent or straight. Let's keep our left hand on whatever support you have it on and bring our right hand up to our right hip. And then roll that right shoulder up and come into a bit of a twist here. Right in the middle of your back. So you're level there at your pelvis. You're trying to maintain that. And then come on back down with that right hand, again, whatever height you want to be, and then left hand on up to the hip, and then rolling that shoulder up. If you can put your palm down onto your low back there, do. Try not to drop down into that right side. It's very tempting. Try to stay as level as you can. Good, and then we'll come on back down. And now from here, do what feels good to you. If you need to bend your knees, if you really want to fold forward, let your hands come back more towards between your feet. By all means, do that. But if you know your back does not feel good doing that, stay out with whatever support you need. And let yourself, if possible, feel the weight of your head. And be with those breaths, those full, complete, deep breaths. Letting your inhales and exhales, if possible, come closer to the same length. So if you count when you breathe in, and you think about reaching that same count, or even farther when you exhale. Good. One more full breath here. And now to bring yourself up. You know, you may want to put your hands on your thighs. You may want to walk your feet closer together before you come up. That's up to you. And if you're dizzy, maintain for a second a wide stance before you walk your feet on together. Move through your feet and your ankles if you need to here too. We're going to do the other side. So coming towards the front of your mat, this time it'll be left foot that steps back. Again, whether it's 18 inches, 2 feet, 3 feet, 4 feet. You want to get that back foot turned at that angle where when you bring your shoulders around, there's no discomfort at all in your knee, in your ankle. You know, sometimes people have to shorten their stance. Some people even have to turn and let their heel come off the floor directly behind them, right? Now, this is, you know, everything to do with, you know, how your body feels. So it's everything to do with how you're able to do the pose comfortably. And then bring your arms on out beside you. And again, turn the palms forward. Let the hands come forward. Let yourself feel like your arms are growing out of your back. It's real easy. Now this rising the arms up, totally optional. You don't have to. They can come forward a little higher. They can stay more shoulder level. They can come up a little higher than that. Maybe they can come up into a wide open V there where they're more directly overhead. But just accept where you are there. Let yourself inhale up the front of your body. Exhale down the back. Nice. And then we're going to release our arms back down beside us. Straighten that front leg out so you can turn now to get more parallel to the feet, getting parallel for your wide-legged forward bend, and then come on forward. And again, get your blocks if you need. Hands to the floor if you'd rather. Adjust how wide your stance is if you like. And then let's walk our blocks or hands over to the right a little bit or a lot. Maybe all the way to your foot if you want to, right? And then we'll come on back to center, and we're going to go to the left. Again, maybe just a little bit of shifting your blocks, or maybe you want to walk to your foot. Wherever feels good. And then come on back into center. Good. Bend one knee at a time if you need to. Wiggle around however you want, really, right now. Take your time so that when you do start to set up, to stay with your breath again, it's easy. You can really allow yourself to release your upper body. Accepting your breaths in and out. See if you can, so the breath's hopefully a little more even. See if you can find those little spaces between your breaths. And imagine you just rest in those little spaces. You just feel like you're relaxing deeper at the end of your inhales and at the end of your exhales. Good. And now to rise up. Again, take your time. Do what you need to do to help yourself on up to standing. And once you're there, walk around a little bit if you can. Move around a little bit. And we are going to bring our mats into a wall. So bringing the short end of your mat into a wall by you here. And let's come with left hand towards the wall. And before you stand on your left foot for support, we're going to do a little tree. Before you do, pick your left foot up and circle it around a little bit. Let your ankle get some release. And then see if you can put the tops of your toes on the floor and press down a little bit so you stretch out the top of the foot. And then go ahead and bring your foot down. Try to get it pretty parallel to the wall. If you need to turn your toes a tiny little bit towards the wall, do for your hip. And then go ahead and bring your right foot in. Whether you want to keep your toes on the floor and put your heel on your inner ankle, or put your foot on your inner calf there below your knee. And if any of you want to reach down and get the foot and bring it up to your inner thigh, remember, you want the heel up as high up as you can if you're doing up above your knee. And you don't want your foot on the inside of your knee. And then you can play a little bit. You can bring your hands to your heart. You may decide you want to just let your arms do something else. They may want to just hang. There are lots of things. Arms can be overhead, of course. And a pretty hard one to do is to bring your hands behind you in tree pose. So that really fires up the core. You can hold your hands back there, clasp them, or hold a wrist. Of course, if you sway, just think about it. Trees sway in the wind, don't they? And we do a lot of that in here. We're going to come on down, and we're going to turn around. Circle through that ankle again. And then once you get ready with your right hand on the wall, pick your right foot up and circle it again. Circle it around. And then put the top of the right toes on the floor. Press down a little bit. Stretch out the top of the foot and bend your knees a little. And then bring that right supporting leg underneath you, right where you know it feels really good for your hip, and bring your left heel either to your inner ankle with your toes on the floor, or bring the foot up to your inner calf, or bring the foot up higher if you choose. And then remember, the knee in tree pose is not not directly to the side you, because most of us don't have a 180-degree turnout in our hips. So the knee is actually kind of a little bit on a diagonal line, right? And then you can play. If your foot slips, reach, put it back if you need to. Put your hand back on the wall. You can adjust your arms and play around a little bit with different places for your arms to be. And if you have to come down and readjust and then go back up, by all means do. If you can feel the foot coming into the inside of the leg and the inside of the leg coming back into your foot, that fires up really a lot of the core body there. And then we're going to release and come on down. Good. Step back from the wall. Now, if you need to be on fists to come into plank with your hands at the wall, do. If you have your hands spread wide, they can come a little more towards the outside of your shoulders. And look at your hands. Make sure one's not higher than the other. Try to get your pointer fingers parallel to each other. That way, if you bend your elbows to come into a little bit of a push-up, and they come inward like you're holding a beach ball between them, you might feel just a little more comfortable as you come into either just a little bit of a bend or even bringing yourself all the way into the wall and back out. But try not to let your body change, right? You're in a plank, and you want to stay in that plank. Don't let yourself come into like a banana feeling, right? Where your belly kind of sinks towards the wall. So you want to keep that extreme sense of length through the body. Nice. And you know, if your wrists bother you, come on to forearms and do a forearm plank if you would rather. Good. One more breath there. Finish off if you're doing another one. Once we come out, we're going to step our left foot to the wall. Now, this is different for everybody. If you can, curl your left toes up the wall, but keep the ball of your foot on the floor. That's what you want to try to do. But if you can't do that and your foot just doesn't have that kind of movement, put the tips of your big toe or maybe second toe on the wall, so that you're okay to be in that foot. Now, adjust your right foot behind you where the heel is directly behind your foot, like you're doing a normal lunge, but little tiny lunge. And then start to bend your left knee. Let it come all the way to touch the wall if you can. You can make a little pillow with your hand and put your head on your hand. And let yourself, if you don't feel anything in your calf, really engage your belly, reach into that back heel back there on the floor. And if you still don't feel anything, I don't know what to say, make it a longer stance, right? For me, it doesn't take long at all in a short stance to really feel a lot in my calf, really all the way into the outer leg as well. But that heel reaching directly back is part of the thing that does it, so that you're not turning your heel in like we do for Warrior One, but it's reaching directly behind your foot. And it's intense. Now, one more breath might be enough. And then we're going to step back with that left foot. We're just going to switch. Put your right toes up there. Again, if you can, curl the toes up the wall, do. Keeping the ball of the foot on the floor, or else just put the tips of the toes on the edge of the baseboard, the side of the baseboard. And then just bend your knee to the wall, all the way to touch the wall lightly, and then zip up your belly. If you can't keep your heel down, it means you're too long of a stance. So step your foot to where you can keep the heel there. Engage the belly. So not only are you feeling it probably in your calf, but you're feeling it in the front of your left hip. Good. Nice. One more breath. And then let yourself step on back from the wall. Walk around a little bit, circle through your ankles before you come down to the floor. And when we do come down, have your strap right there handy by you. Okay, so make your way on back and have a seat and let your strap be right here beside you. And then for a second, see if you can just cross your left ankle above your right knee and just give your foot a tiny little massage after all that, right? So let yourself be easy. You can massage a little through. I like to take the knuckles and kind of press into here into the arch of the foot, that tendon, trying to get release there. But you know, everybody's different. Just give it a little bit of love, and then we'll switch and do the other one. So it's also chilly, so your feet might be cold in here. The floor is cold. So, you know, it also gives them a little warm up. Again, if you like to use your fist and kind of work yourself in a little bit to the arch. And if your feet are sore, man, wouldn't it be nice if somebody else would give you a foot massage? It always feels so much better when somebody else does it. So take your time, stretch your legs out. Let's get those straps. And then let's do right foot into the strap here. Leg is directly in front of us. And so instead of letting your leg come out to the side, feel the foot directly in front of your hip. Left foot can come wherever you choose. Lower, like a tree. You can put it if you want, a block underneath it if you feel really iffy in your knee or your hip. You can bring the foot up to your inner thigh if you choose. And then feel that heel of the right foot on the floor. Lengthen up here. And just, at first, let this be a little movement, right? So as you exhale, you come a little forward. And as you inhale, you come on back up. So, you know, it might be a ½ inch of a movement forward because you want to keep your back nice and long. So just follow the breath forward and back a little bit and kind of give your hamstring a few of these to adjust a little bit. And sometimes it gets easier to go a little bit farther forward as you do these. And then sometimes you're like, okay, I just want to stay forward. So if you do, you can let yourself come on forward. You can decide if you want to bring your hands closer to your foot, if you want to let yourself fold a little bit deeper into your forward bend, but really try to keep the long back. I mean, for those of us who forward bends feel great, I know it's really tempting just to let yourself go, right? But if you can, keep that engagement of the length of your spine and the heel on the floor, and let yourself enjoy opening up the back of the leg. One more breath. And then we'll slowly come on back up, and we're going to switch feet in the strap. So again, finding that place for your right foot where you feel okay in your right hip. So if that means adding that block underneath or lowering your foot down, and then look at your foot in the strap, because you can tell, you know, if you pull with your right hand, you're going to pull your foot into this position where the pinky toe comes forward. And if you pull with your other hand, then your ankle goes the other way. So there's all that movement. So if you press equally into the ball of the foot, and then start to move your way forward and back, then you're more set up to let this pose work a little more efficiently for you. Because if you do find that movement in the ankle, not so good, you don't want to sickle your foot, and you don't want to let your foot come more. It's like if you were standing up, you don't want to roll to the outsides or the insides of your feet. So again, you can move as long as you want forward and back. If you get to a point where you feel like, oh, I really just want to stay forward, and you want to move your hands a little bit to hold your strap closer to your foot, by all means do. It's really the idea of the middle of your body kind of coming forward towards the inside of your leg, which makes it a strict forward bend here. And try to release your face. And also sometimes we want to lift our chin up like it's going to get us further if we do this, right? See if you can release the back of your neck. Good. One more breath. And now as we come up, take your strap still in your hands, and let's bring both feet, bend your knees, bring both feet into the strap. Now kind of even your strap out a little bit if you have it like really heavy on one side, right? So that you have pretty even, so that when you think about leaning back, you can hold the strap here. You've got the outside of your big toe mounds touching. You can decide if you feel like you want to lift your feet up, and you're holding the strap here to hold your feet up there, really. But you're not collapsing into the chest. You want your chest to come forward. So if that's too much, don't lift your feet up. Let yourself be here. You're still able to find your chest coming forward. Now those of you who have your feet up, you may want to straighten your legs out. It might feel kind of like fun, you know, because you've got your help there to keep yourself long in your back with your arms. Good. Nice. One more breath. And then come on down. Let yourself bring the soles of your feet towards each other. And if you need to bring your feet out further, do. And take your time there. Go ahead and move your strap off to the side. Let your hands come behind you for a second. And if your feet are out here, that's fine. If you need blocks underneath your knees, use them. But let yourself bring your hands back and then open your chest a little bit here in your Baddha Konasana. So this idea that there's a string right here at your sternum and somebody's pulling it forward and up on a diagonal line, which of course obviously affects your shoulders big time, right? One more breath. And then come on up, and if you want to come a little bit forward, do. I know some of you, may decide that it feels very, very good and like a relief to come forward. That is just not in everybody's hips. So it has to do with how you're built. So if coming forward feels not good to you, then just let yourself release sitting up tall. And you can always keep your hands behind you if that helps you to lengthen up so that you have a little bit of support. Good. One more breath here. Imagine that your knees are just reaching gently away from the midline, towards the right and the left. Not like you're trying to push them down towards the floor, but it's like they're just reaching away from the midline. And then we're going to slowly rise ourselves back up from here. You can use your hands to bring your knees on up if you need. And stretch your legs out for a second. Move through your feet and circle around a little bit. We're going to get ready to come down onto our backs on the floor. So, take your time. Have a block or blocks handy just in case you want them for anything. And just come on down. Bring your feet to the floor. Let yourself, once your feet are on the floor, do a couple of little pelvic tilts. So as you exhale, letting the tailbone curl up and the low back come down to the floor. And when you inhale, that low back curve comes back into coming off the floor there into that natural curve. So let it feel good to come into these easy pelvic tilts. Releasing the low back and very deep. It's not like you're trying to lift your hips up. It's really just the tailbone curling up, and your sits bones curl up a little bit too. Good. And then finish the one you're on. Come on back to more neutral spine and bring your arms alongside your body. Set your feet up for bridge pose. So feet are parallel and a little wider than you are in mountain pose. And then really press down into the backs of your arms so that you feel your chest float up a little bit. See if you can then roll your shoulders under more. Keep pressing down into your arms and float your hips on up into maybe just a little low bridge pose. Doesn't have to be high. Some of you may feel like you want to lift up higher, rolling the shoulders under even more. Or sometimes even lifting the heels up helps because it lifts the hips up higher. You can feel your quads a little more. And then the challenge is, if you've got the heels up, keep the hips where they are when you lower the heels back down. And if you're like, I don't want anything to do with any of that, I just want to rest, then get your block and put it underneath you and let yourself rest, right? You can always work up and down off a block, right? You can give yourself time just to rest on a block, and then if you decide, it feels kind of good to think of coming up off the block and going back down to it, then you can, or you can do that same thing, of course, from the floor. So, some people really love being on a block, and some people really don't. So, just pay attention to what feels good to your body today. We've all been through enough, haven't we? So let's just really let yourself enjoy what your body needs for you to do. And if you're like, I don't really want to do any more bridge poses, if you need something else for your body to be able to release, a twist. Always, of course, when you do come down from bridge, let your knees come into your chest so you can release the back. Anytime you do a back bend, it's always nice to counter when you come out of it. Take your time. Start to get lights here, so just keep going. You need to do another movement or pose or two, by all means do. Thank you. So, if you're here at the studio, I can bring you stuff. If you're at home, that's not going to be possible, but hopefully if you're at home and you know that you like something underneath your knees, you have a bolster that makes it really easy. If not though, you can use rolled up blankets. You can use pillows. If they're real soft pillows, you might need to do a couple of them. And also, if you lie back and you feel like your chin is lifting up. So if you feel like your chin is lifting up, just slipping a little something, like just a little bit of blanket at the back of your head can do it. Just take your time, let yourself enjoy the feeling of the ground underneath you, and if you need to kind of move around a little bit, do it. Sometimes just a slight difference in where you have your arms, your legs. So traditionally in Shavasana, your arms are out a little ways away from your body with the palms turned upward, and your legs are a little out, so almost like they reach towards the corners of your mat, and the toes kind of flop outward. Now, of course, if you have a bolster underneath you, that's totally different. But if you're lying flat on the floor, but even then, that's not always comfortable. So adjusting to where you feel like, I can almost really feel myself melting down into the ground. So on your exhales, just see if you can imagine releasing deeper and deeper every time you exhale. And let your awareness be with your breath. those waves of the breath will help your mind and your body to get quieter. Give yourself these few minutes and let yourself completely and fully relax. gradually letting the breaths come in and go out more fully and more deeply. Not forcing, just receiving those breaths a little deeper. And let your fingers and your toes, when you're ready to wiggle and move them, start to lead you into moving. Your hands, your feet, arms, legs when you're ready. You might even want to let your head roll a little side to side if that feels good. Just take your time to come back to physically moving again the way that feels good to you. You're more than welcome to roll to either your right or your left side if that's comfortable for you. You can stay on your side for a few breaths using your arm as a pillow. Just be mindful. Really allow yourself to take the time you need so you are able to more easily come back into moving again. And of course, when you are ready to rise up to sitting, just take your time to get comfortable in how you are sitting so that you can feel that ease of letting your head then come up to be up above your heart again as you're reaching your sitting bones down towards the ground. Get comfortable for your hips. And then watch your breath again, coming in and going out. And let your next exhale bring your hands to meet there in front of your chest, in front of your own heart. And wishing each one of you a very joyful day. Namaste.
Namaste.
Happy Thursday.